I'd like to call the meeting of the Plaquemines Parish Council for May 23rd, 2024 to order at 2:02 p.m. Machines are open for roll call. Let the record reflect that all 9 council members are present. At this time, we'll stand for the prayer by Council Member Champagne, pledged by Dr. Gouy.
We take this moment to acknowledge Almighty God and thank Him for our bountiful blessings, especially for the parish's natural resources. We give thanks to God for our brave and courageous men and women in our military who daily risk their lives to protect our precious freedom, and we pray our world leaders to know and obtain world peace. We pray that this government body, comprised of both council and administration, will always serve our parish with honesty, humility, and equality to all. And as this government body gathers here today, we pray for the wisdom to know right from wrong and the courage to do that which is right. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item, please.
Agenda item 2, executive session. There is none. 3, proclamations. There are none. 4, status report by the parish president.
Mr. President.
We're coming upon hurricane season here, and we're continuing to review and update the parish's hurricane plan to align with the intensification of the storms that they're participating and they're predicting in this hurricane season. Just saw a brief report this morning that it's almost like the prediction is doubled of years past. So we're cognizant, we're aware of that. So, but an executive summary will of the updated plan. It'll be available to the council here in the next few weeks, and also, and then at that time, if there's any comments or requests or something that you'd like to see with it, we'll get with Patrick and Pete and implement it and get you guys involved with that as well. And on that, the collaboration, it'll be with the stakeholders being, Venture Global, the Chevrons, the business leaders in the community, all the parish departments, and the council as well. We'll be working together on that. There's 4 phases on this plan that we're talking about. It's pre-season, the present, it's active storm, and it's post-storm. So we're looking at that whole concept of what we're what we have to be aware of as well. And it's not only for hurricanes. It's we're getting some pretty intense cold fronts that come through with these straight line storms. Just here a couple of weeks ago, we probably had 60, 70 mile an hour straight line winds come into the parish. So we have to be prepared for that. We have to be prepared as in the past with the oil spills. We have to be prepared with LNG. Who knows what the LNG plant could have bring to us in the future. Just like in the past year, there was a major fire at the coal plant. Fortunately, they were able to put that out without any kind of incident to any of the areas on the East Bank, but we have to be prepared for those situations there. Talking about the active season, we are right now, the plan is 120 hours out, but because of the intensification of these storms, we need to create a plan and a process to goes from 72 to 60 hours out because some of these storms are just overnight or becoming very, very strong. And so we need to be aware of that. We are aware of that, and we're working towards that and, and in changing our plans and getting ready for that. The digest, Dr. Gouy has asked me, and I've started looking into this. So I guess what I'm going to ask of that is, as we write our I guess if you come up as a council member, write your legislation, but if you could, take it upon yourselves as to say what that means in layman's terms there, so you could help us out. And we've got Avery here, and he's willing to, he's here to help you, and I'm sure as Danny in the back there, but, Avery's here on a daily basis, so he's, I don't want to say at your disposal, but he's at your disposal, okay? He's here, he works for us. And like I told him, I said, man, I brought him in for certain things, but his plate was like this. But now he's got 2 plates and a lot of baskets, though. So he's doing a great job. So and he's willing to, and he's doing a great job. The coastal position, it's been posted, and we're receiving applicants. So that's moving forward. So we can move forward on that resolution today. That'd be fine. So, Reverend Edwards, I'm here and I'm satisfied the way Coastal is going right now. That is so far from the truth, okay? Look, this is something that all of us, we should never be satisfied with any of the coastal plans. We can be satisfied with them, but we should always strive for more and better for our parish because of where we are in Plaquemines Parish. Because Plaquemines Parish, we're so well identified when you take a look at the state of Louisiana. We are that peninsula that goes out into the Gulf of Mexico. Anywhere I travel, they go, where are you from? You say New Orleans, but no, I'm really from Plaquemines Parish. And they go, whoa. I said, take a look at that peninsula that goes out into the Gulf of Mexico. That is Plaquemines Parish. We've got, just to let you know that we're waiting for the final answer on the Mardi Gras Pass. It's a $2 million grant that is to come up with a plan on not closing Mardi Gras Pass, but closing Mardi Gras Pass with a controlled structure. We're doing that. Also, I talk with our state representatives, senators, and even with Senator Vitter, who represents both the port and us as a government up in D.C., with the Braithwaite to White Ditch Levee. We know that that's a $440 million project right there that is in the master plan. But to get that started, we have to lobby for $44 million for engineering and design. So it's a long, drawn-out process. We have to, and there's that cost-to-benefit ratio. And that's been a tough thing because back when I was on the council starting right now 17, 18 years ago, we were always looking at the Braithwaite to White Ditch, that levee right there. So please understand and know that I am working for the East Bank, for that levee project, and it is a topic of conversation that I have pretty much, if not a weekly basis, at least every other week, but it is on our radar, and it is on our legislators, because we got Senator Carter up in Baton Rouge. And let me tell you, he has been great to work with, and he wants to do for Plaquemines Parish, and he represents the East Bank side of Plaquemines. So, like I said, that plan is it is in the master plan. So CPRA it's on their radar as well. So, and plus, we're also working on another River Ocean. There's some monies, some grant monies that we're trying to get in the immediate future for the East Bank side of Plaquemines.
Again, I'm aware.
We'll come back.
Yeah.
You in. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, that's it. So if y'all have any questions,
All right. Thank you, Mr. President. Any comments from the audience? Mr. Jursich.
Yes.
well, someone from.
Where?
The guy in the back.
Come on up.
Come up if it's related to President's update. Okay. Mr. Jursich.
Yes, the RV evacuations, that's going to be a big issue for the hurricane. So we really need to get together and try to get a plan with the Venture Global and see what's going to happen, because we're getting more and more every day. And I appreciate y'all doing what you're doing, but we definitely got to keep this in mind, or we're going to force them to have to stay because we can't afford to get all them on the highway and plug up our highways. But once they stay, they become projectiles. It's almost like we should be asking them during hurricane season to anchor them down.
Well, you're going to see that today, we've got the ordinance of the temporary halting on issuing permits. We do have an introduction. We do have the new ordinance coming out for these RV parks, that it is going to require them to anchor them down. But just because they're anchored down, it doesn't allow them to say not leave, doesn't give them the permission. Doesn't give them permission to leave them here.
Right, no, I agree,
Right.
but,
Yeah. And we want them out of here.
no, and on the coastal zone,
And,
I appreciate
and just one more thing, on that 72 hours out, they're further out than the 72. The 72 is that's when our residents come into play.
pull the trigger on
That's
that
when we
time.
pull for our,
The 120 is basically.
that's probably going to be the number for the RVs.
Yeah, my concern is if one just pops up in the Gulf and develops rapidly and moves in, that whole plan
Oh,
goes by the
Yep,
wayside, so
yep.
we're gonna,
And I tell you what, though, I'm confident with the team that we've got together here with our Homeland, our EOC, that, look, we'll be able to pull that trigger and get it moving.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, on the coastal zone director, I appreciate you. I saw this stuff start popping up. I said, boy, he beat me to the punch over here. I mean, I'm willing to defer it today because there's really, you're already moving on it.
And let me tell you, if you take a look at our administration, what we've created here, it didn't happen in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. It's been a very meticulous process because we're looking for the right folks to be in these positions. And look, and I was open with you guys and talking about, hey, let's maybe look at this type of individual or this type. I hear Reverend Edwards, he said, we don't want a young person that's green coming out. So look, so now we're looking for the seasoned individual.
That was going to be, a recommendation of
Yeah.
mine as well. We have to get somebody seasoned, and later on, if you want to bring an
But-
younger assistant in to work with them,
Right.
it's fine to teach them because you have to have somebody jump into this that's already seasoned into
Right.
it.
But always
I really
know-
appreciate you making a move on this.
Know that what comes with season comes with an income,
Well, we understand that.
Yeah,
There's,
right,
there's a spot
right.
vacant right now.
Yeah,
Spot
right,
vacant. That's
yeah.
all I have. Thank you very much.
Good deal, Ben.
Mr. Newsom.
Thank you. Mr. President, on your evacuation stuff, and maybe you can, simple. So at one time, and I'd probably be the same way, if we do have to have an evacuation, we do call for it, for folks to get back into the parish, business owners, they had some type, I know one time they had some type of little placard that went on.
And
We're
we
gonna
have those.
We'll have those.
Yeah.
Because I'm getting a few calls from, because hurricane season, would be the point of the director go to see, to
That-
get a name on the list, or, because I understand, you're going to have a lot of inquiries to people who want their placards, and look, we really got to limit, I won't say limit, but put to right people to do this. So who would be their point?
I would say, let's get with Patrick
Okay.
Harvey.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Kognovich.
Couple things. I don't think we'll be able to tell the people with trailers, you got to leave them, because then their insurance doesn't cover them.
Right. No,
That's a big problem.
they have to go because you're absolutely right. They can't even make that decision to leave them behind. So when we pull the trigger on that evacuation for the RVs and the trailers, they have to go. They have to go.
Then another complaint I've been getting is garbage. Got one garbage truck from Point Celeste to Venice. Sometimes it don't get picked up that week. How many garbage trucks do we have in Belchase?
I'm going to have to, that's a question for Billy right there, if you don't mind.
Three from the north end handles the east bank. We had a truck go down in lower end earlier this week, which is why they didn't get the Monday or Tuesday. But
been out.
they've always gotten 1 day
Been
minimum.
out a couple weeks.
Yeah, well, one truck, but your issue with the pickup for twice a week was earlier this week, right?
Last week,
With
too.
Byron?
last week too.
Yeah. It's,
You know, if we got to buy a new truck,
you do. And one is actually on order, but it's, you know, probably,
I know about all.
it's been on order for a couple months, so, and it's probably another 8-10 months out.
And mosquitoes. I cut grass in 4 different parts of the parish. Empire, Buras, Fort Jackson, and Venice. Empire, I might have killed 1 mosquito, and that's great. Buras, I might have killed 2. The Fort and Venice, if I didn't kill 1 million, I didn't kill 1. That's what I said, 4. And, you know, the businesses down Tidewater Road pay on the water meters, so need to start spraying down there.
The plane is actually up today. They're going to be spraying in the Venice Boothville area because that's where most mosquitoes were found in the traps. They've been laying the traps and they've been monitoring the number of mosquitoes, and they caught some mosquitoes in that area, so they're spraying today.
Monday for them. Yeah,
But I appreciate you taking up the slack there.
yeah. Well, you know, I tease people because they was asking, what's these things they putting up on top of the pylons? I said, that's bat houses. We're going to go to bats instead of spraying for mosquitoes.
Might not be a bad idea.
You know, I heard you was in Venice a couple times last week, this week. You know, I'd appreciate a call. Hey, I'll be there.
Yeah.
Sometimes I can't meet you, and sometimes I could.
I will do that. Yeah. I can do that. Drove by the fort. I was going to walk in, but yeah, you wasn't.
Hot.
Yeah. So anyway,
I'll get you a key if you want. You can
that's good.
ride
No,
the lawnmower for 'em.
I was hoping to see you.
Thanks.
I'll take a key. It's all good.
Reverend Edwards.
Yeah, Mr. President, I would say to you, as I've said to Charles Tillman, the Pope, from my position until I see some action, nothing is happening. We have had so many parish presidents before you talk about the Breakaway Levy District. Talk. The people are tired of it. They don't see no action, you know, and I can't tell them nothing. I tell them I don't see it, so I can't pretend something exists. I understand the $400-something million needed, but I haven't seen nobody talk about float a bond, do anything to make it happen. You're going to be the fourth president that come to the meeting, say stuff, but people don't know what's going on. So a lot of stuff you're saying that people are not even aware of, they can't see it. You know, they don't live in Minnesota, but you got to show them something. And until people see something, you know, talk stay in one house and do stay in another house. But what a wonderful marriage when talk and do come together. Until we have that marriage, as far as people that are just hot air in the wind, because the condition haven't changed in 20 years. We've been talking. It's in the master plan. People went to the meeting at Dockside. They thought it wasn't in the master plan. I said, it's there, but there's no money skin to the game. You know, and they need to see that until then. Their problems still exist. They're still frightened with hurricane. All those stress still exist in our community. We still stressed out about high elevation. Nothing being done to change that. So we're in 2 different worlds. Because when you have to live the start of a tornado come, the East Bank destroyed, and you have to elevate the 18 house, talk don't change that. We need to see some action. As long as stuff exists the way it is, people don't see no change. And I'm unapologetic about it. I am not moving from that position. I don't see any action, and I can't tell the people I see something that don't exist. I just can't do it. As far as I'm concerned, we don't see, from my perspective, and when we see action, when we see money put into Breakaway Levy District, then we saying something other than that. We just see it as talk.
Well, it comes through and with you, Reverend Edwards, okay? We have to do this together. So anytime you're ready to sit down, we can come up with that plan and start trying to implement it there.
I've been waiting and waiting for it. I'm available. I can't be very comfortable, but everybody know I'm at Pearl Labs Code Office. It's, you know, at a time that I'm not there, I'm willing to talk. But my thing is about just present it. And let me tell you, it's not just to me. The people in Breakaway need to see it. Because they've been doing this before I was a councilman, and you're not the first parish president. It's every parish president that came, have talked the talk, but nobody produced no money toward the Breakaway to White Dish Levy. They understand there's $400-something million, and you can't do that by saying we're going to put $6,000 to it. That's all the people. It's not about me. It's just about you convincing the people, because that's the one who got the problem. And I told them I can't call no meeting until we call a meeting when we know we're going to be telling people the truth and not doing no pony dog show, because I'm not a pony dog show, loud whistles and bells. That don't get people anywhere. People on East Bank, you don't understand the stress that people go through that live in the breakaway area. They're stressed out. The high insurance they got to pay for elevating their houses, the wind insurance, people they're miserable. And, I'm not going to add to the miserable, but just, it's like I'm a praying person, but faith without work is dead. It's not work. It got to be both coming together. And so, again, nothing said today have changed my position, and so that's where I'm at.
I'm not here to change your position, but I'm here to tell you that start next week, we're going to start working on it. We'll get together and we'll make this happen.
And I'm
okay, and in that way, you'll see in the future. And you will see exactly what we're going through and what we have to go through. And I hope that we can come to a common ground and see what we are going through and what we're having to go through and what we will. It's like today, tomorrow, and yesterday, okay? So we know what yesterday was. But it's today and tomorrow that we need to move forward on, okay?
I'm ready for that.
All right.
Mr. LaFrance.
Yes. Speaking about the RVs, you say you're introducing legislation today. How is that going to affect the, I have about 1, 2, 3, 4.
Can you speak a little bit more into the mic?
You didn't have that problem. How's that going to affect the RV spots that I have on the agenda today? And also, if the people doesn't evacuate their RVs, what would be the penalty?
Well, that may be something that we can, we took a look at this new ordinance, Avery, that could be something that we can look at and need to come up with something to that effect. Because what's going to happen, if those RVs and those trailers are left behind, that will cost us. That's going to cost us money, either us locally or FEMA. And, there's a certain percentage that we have to cover before the FEMA kicks in on that. So no, that's a great idea right there.
Yeah, the legislation came out yesterday.
Yeah.
We busy with graduations and things. So,
well, we're not voting on it. We're not moving on that today. Yeah, right.
Mr. Rowley, I would like to meet with you and give you some of my thoughts on the issue. I sure appreciate it.
Mr. Kokrovich.
Got about one thing. Yep, I'm old. The saltwater intrusion, did you hear anything from FEMA about paying for equipment?
We are still in negotiations, or still in talks with GOSAP, but it's not looking, to be honest with you, I'm not feeling warm and cozy on that.
Well, that's what I told them.
Yeah.
It's been this long,
Yeah.
I wouldn't look for it.
Yeah,
I'd ask.
Yeah, and look, it's not that we haven't been asking. I mean, that's we will have to ask for that. Yeah,
All right, thank you.
yeah.
Mr. Jurisic.
Yes, back again, because I did forget one thing.
He ain't much younger than me.
A little bit, enough. You've been getting the same calls I've been getting. These people have their mobile homes. I just got one call today. Lady needs to move it 100 feet. Yeah. And it's impossible for her to do that because once she moves it off the site, it has to be elevated. We really have to look at what the parish on its own can possibly do with this, because I have 2 other people that have their mobile homes sitting at the dealership. They bought them already, but they got to put them on site. Well, putting them on site requires them to elevate, and there is no grant money and nothing available for them. So we really need to start looking into what can Plaquemines Parish do on its own to try to, at least if there was a trailer there, it should be able to go back. Because in a mobile home park that's been there prior to 1984 or something, you could pull one, 85, you could pull one out, put one in. I don't see the difference, you know, when you're pulling one out to put one in or to move one lot over. Because what's happening down the road especially, people aren't allowed to do this, so they're having to leave. And that's just it's going to be a continuous exodus, you know, mass exodus to this place, because they're not going to be able, and what they're going to do is they're going to start piling up here. It's really going to put more problems, you know, in our infrastructure.
Well,
So
this is
we need to
one of-
look. We need to look into.
Well, this is one of the items on Avery's plate, is that we've had this conversation, is that because we know back in 1965 when Bessie hit and Camille hit in 69, there was a time frame when houses had to be elevated, but then all of a sudden it came down. So he's looking at the history of that, and we're trying to, you know, as they say, history repeats itself. So hopefully we can come up and find the reasons and how they were able to get those elevations back down, and maybe we can move forward on doing that as well in the future here. Yeah.
As Commissioner Councilman
Right.
Kotovich has said many times, you know, if there was a waiver letter,
Right.
that would, you
Yeah.
know, you could sign not to hold FEMA liable for anything. In any one of these instances, FEMA's free and clear. I don't see any reason that they should say, well, you can't do it.
Right.
You know, I think there's some way we need to work on that. And Avery, I'd appreciate it if you need to talk about it, give me a call. Thank you.
I know after that Perez and Luke didn't sign the agreement with FEMA. And, you know, a couple of years back, the council voted to accept the FEMA maps, and that's when it put it that we had to go up.
Okay, but we're going to explore and we see what, you know, it's like Mitch said, see if we can't get into a waiver system here, because I know a lot of the folks, they can afford, you know, to be self-insured and all, so. Yeah, but you know what, we got to continue to ask. We got to be that little pain in the ass to them, and finally where they just give up and say, fine, do what you want, get out of here, you know, so, but anyway.
Reverend Edwards.
You know, Avis, I'm glad that you're going to be working. Ever since I've been a councilman, elevation been my issue. Every time I go to D.C., I've been talking to people, I've been talking to legislators, I've been talking to council members all over the state about this elevation issue. To me, it is a priority. And I don't think we taking a move on it. I'm not a lawyer, but I've been talking to people. Mr. Konovich was on call while people celebrate Mardi Gras. We was on the phone, Khalid's office, other people writing letters. I just think we got to change the flood-based elevation, especially for those in the levee. If you change to 5 feet, most people would accept that. But everybody like FEMA is bigger than Jesus Christ. You can't touch FEMA. And I'm telling you, ever since I've been a councilor, 19 months since I've been here, all of my issues been about elevation. I've been at meetings, calling people. I mean, I'm on the phone with people all over the country, talking about filing suit against the Justice Department, all kinds of stuff. We have to take this issue because this is affecting our people like nothing else. And seems to me, it's not a priority. I can't understand how something of this magnitude is not a priority. Because if something's a priority, that means you're working on it consistently. I don't see that. And I'm not a lawyer. I know what I've been doing since I've been here for 19 months, just as a councilman. And every council member on you know that this has been my biggest issue. I was in Baton Rouge, and the guy said, you know, Rev, when I saw you 12 months ago, you was talking about it. I said, I'm going to be talking about it till it's changed. Because it's something of importance to our resident. We should eat and sleep it. Eat and own it. And I just don't, and this elevation thing is the biggest thing, but I think we're sleeping on it. I'm sorry. So I'm glad that we're signing somebody to look at it.
Next item, please.
4A, update by charter directors.
Directors.
Just a couple things from my end on the ops side. One, with hurricane season now upon us, piggybacking on what the president said, I'll start sending in those pump station reports monthly. You get that at the beginning of the month, every time going forward. They do look pretty good, better than it's ever been, better than we made it through the season last year with constant improvements all the way through. So you'll be pleased when you see all the green 100% pump stations on there. Touching back on a couple of things, again, a couple of issues that you've all had. We've either completed those issues or they're ongoing and should be completed soon. None stand out. I think everything's pretty much been done on that list, other than the constant stuff, a ditch here, a ditch there. We try to put out those fires as you send them to us. We don't want to move a machine from one end of the parish to the other, but sometimes that's all we can do to help. Manpower in the prom department is getting better and better. It's almost like it hits in spurts. Now, sometimes we got a little bit of, retirement issues where people start dropping out. So we'll hire two, and then next thing you know, somebody retires. So we're fighting that, but the manpower is getting better. The position they're in now has allowed them to change the system. They were cutting grass on the West Bank. The East Bank works fine the way it is. It's the same people over there that's been there. Most of you guys complain that we spend too much time on the East Bank. It looks too pretty over there. So, but the West Bank side, where the tractor drivers, when cutting the levees, 4 of them at the time was all they had on tractors. They would run from the north end down the backside all the way to Venice and then back up. It took about 8.5, 9 weeks to get that completed, not counting weather issues or anything. Now, with the couple of extra people they have, splitting that into 2 teams of 3 tractors, they now split the parish basically from the Diamond Hump area north, and then from Diamond south all the way to Venice. In that, those 2 teams are equally getting those levees cut in roughly 5 weeks, give or take a little bit. So it's allowed the frequency of cuttings to get better. We, believe it or not, like when I'm down the road in different spots, people say, hey, who'd you hire to do this? What's going on? What company's doing that? Nothing has really changed other than moving those teams the way we did. And it was all because manpower increased. So as we continue to get manpower brought on, we should expect better and better service, quicker frequency to get back. That's the issue we have in most places. It's not that the parish doesn't go cut a particular area. It's the frequency from the one time it got cut to how long it takes you to get back to that area. Sometimes the neighbors think, well, they must have forgot about us. But it's just the frequency issue brought on by manpower. We are working on that. It's getting better and better. The last thing I would say is Miss Ashley's been doing a great job. I'll give her kudos. She jumped in with both feet in the deep end of the pool, right? We're still trying to handle a couple of little issues at different parks that was ongoing. It's kind of part of the transitioning her on. For the most part, all of those things are going good. But I know from my end, she's taking a load off my back, which is also helping me get on these other things for you guys. With that said, that's all I have. If you have any questions, concerns, just call us like you always do. We'll get you the answer if we don't have it right that moment.
Thank you. With the piggybacking on the president's remarks about the hurricane preparedness, the contractor that is doing the preventative maintenance on the generators, he's going through that list. We're found 3 more. We identified 3 more generators that we added to the list. And he's checking them off as he goes. According to Homeland Security, there's never been a preventative maintenance contract to maintain these generators. But we've identified what we thought was all of them. Every now and then one pops up that we missed, but we're adding them to the list. The contractor reached out and said they do have some availability on Saturdays, if they could get to some of these generators on Saturdays to go through the list a little bit quicker. But we are going through that. It looks like that hands-on every generator should be completed by middle of June, maybe that last week of June. So by that time, all of the parish generators should have had hands-on maintenance to them. Air conditions, it's a never-ending battle. The multipurpose center, what we believe happened was that storm that came through last week, power surge or what have you, knocked out a couple of the condenser units, the compressors, and a bunch of condenser fans. But the AC tech says all of the parts are in stock. He's ordering them, and he'll knock that out within the week. So that shouldn't be down too long. I touched on the mosquito plane. They are up today because they caught some mosquitoes in some of the traps. There's areas that are worse than others, but they're starting in Venice and they're moving their way up north to hit some of the areas that they did catch some mosquitoes in the traps. There were no, and they send the mosquitoes off to get tested. There were no positive tests for any of the viruses. And that's one thing they pride themselves on. I don't think they've ever gotten a positive test as long as the current director's been in that position. So they're doing a good job of treating the standing water, identifying the areas that need to be treated, and they treat them. And that's it. And as Billy said, if y'all have any questions, y'all can always reach out to us.
Good afternoon. On the finance end, the auditors have started the auditing process on last week, and they're working off-site right now. They're expected to be on-site on June 10th. So if you reach out to the finance department and they don't get back to you right away, they're bogged down with auditing. So just reach out to me, and I'll let them know that you all are trying to reach them for something. Human resource side, all employees and elected officials' annual compliance trainings are due to the HR office by June 12th. That would be ethics, cybersecurity, and sexual harassment. If anyone needs assistance or any employees or anyone do not have access to a computer, we do have computer stations set up in the HR department. The parish libraries are gearing up for the 2024 summer reading program. That's going to start on June 10th and run through July 18th. On Mondays, they'll be at Beers at 1 o'clock. On Tuesdays, they'll be at Bell Chase at 1 o'clock. Wednesday, Port Selfa Library starting at 1 o'clock. The only difference being on Thursdays, they'll be at Percy Griffin Community Center starting at 12 noon. Ms. Patricia has worked hard on this, especially for the East Bank side, her and her staff, to provide this service for the libraries. That's all I have.
Good afternoon. Ironton Park renovations are currently underway. I went over yesterday. The fencing has been installed around the basketball courts. The pools have been laid around the field, and the play structure is about 75% complete from what I saw on yesterday. We are working to complete that. The culvert has also been laid to add the additional parking on Division Street, so that is complete as well. So they're still working on that project. Cypress Park renovations, three of the 4 restrooms are complete. We have ordered that the portalets be removed from the field. And then the 4th restroom I went by today, I would say it's about 75% complete. They had to do some updates to the walls and the stalls, so those are being rebuilt and put up and painted. The sinks and the toilets need to be reinstalled, and then they just need to do some painting to wrap that up. But again, that's the 4th one on the field that's not complete. Over the past weekend, we completed certification for lifeguards. We had 9 applicants. Out of those 9, we were able to certify 6. So we currently have 6 certified applicants, and we've turned those packets into civil service. So now we're on progress to get those 6 individuals onboarded and hired. So that's where we are with that. Also, we launched 2 summer programs. So one started on May 20th. The other will start on July 18th. We also started registration for girls volleyball and flag football. Registration opened on May 20th and it'll run until June 16th. We are also working the coaches' application for the 2024 tackle football season and the girls volleyball season. So that is what we have going on right now as it relates to recreation.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any comments from the audience? Mr. Henry, state your name, address.
Oh, this was Mr. DeMarco, but it's really for the president. You know, next week is June the 1st, and it's hurricane season. Now, I heard you mention about the plan that you have provided for businesses. I didn't hear any plans about for the residents, because we need to know if we have a major hurricane. Especially, you was mentioning about the placards. Who can re-enter the parish? Because that was a problem after Katrina, you know. And we need to have some kind of meeting or something to let the public know exactly what it is I will, you know. Because it's here, you know, because a lot of people was angry because they couldn't come back into the parish. And understandable, but they don't know it ahead of time, you know. Yeah.
Mr. Brox, state your name and address, please.
Clarence Brox, 156 Enos Campbell, Orlando. I got a question for Jeff. It's not a question. I just want to let him know. He talked about the drainage ditch. All the pumps are ready and looking good. But the pumps are good, but I know they drain the canal as low as it could when they know the weather's coming. But the canals do get full because the water, the grass, the ditches all get full because the grass they got to go through them. And we talk about the area that in Phoenix. He gave me a call. No, he didn't give me a call. He gave me a text message. And you all know about me, a text message ain't gonna work. You got to call me. So that area that you text me about, you get a chance, I'll show you where it at. Okay, all right. The reason why I say that because that day I went and talked to some of the residents and they told me this snakes, this alligator, and they saw two pups, coyote pups, came to the front because of the high water and was in the yard. And then people had to take their vehicle from the steps and put them out to the highway, and they go walk through the water with their boots. Now, they take care of them two spots. They haven't been taken care of. That's why I'm saying something about it. If we could take care of them two spots, that'll take a lot of the pressure off their family. All right. And one of the snakes was in the house, and they called me 2:30 in the morning. I had to go get it out the house. And that person have not slept in that room since I killed that snake. So, and that was the day after the rain.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Any other comments from the audience? Yes, sir. State your name and address, please.
Henry McAnisby, 123 West Shelley Road, Port Sulphur. I was wanting to know if we established a date to hold a meeting for the wastewater disposal into Lake Judge Perez.
That's the state.
Yeah.
That's the.
You talk about the Venture Global? Yeah, that's through Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality, and that's through the state. And I know they've been trying to get one scheduled. Ms. LaFrance, do you have an update on that?
I don't have an update, but I did reach out to Mr. Burt, and he haven't gotten back to me yet.
Yeah, it was originally scheduled. For some reason, it was going to be held on the East Bank. We knew that wasn't a good idea because it didn't really affect East Bank. It affected you guys. The president reached out to them. They agreed to postpone it and reschedule. They have not gotten back to any of us with the date on when they're going to reschedule.
They never did postpone the meeting. They went through with the meeting.
On the East Bank?
And they went.
I never
I
heard
think
that.
it was on the 28th. A while
Did you know
back.
that? I never heard that, so I don't know anything about that. Now, maybe people showed up, but I don't think LDUQ showed
No,
up.
nobody showed up, but they had the meeting.
Wait. Yeah, I know I don't,
Yeah, I don't know.
I know we emailed them too saying they need to be on the West Bank.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
So I think Ms. LaFranche is trying to get in touch with Mr. Burt with Venture Global to try to set it up, correct? Is that my understanding? So we're working on it.
It's very important because we got to understand when there's a high tide, this is water that I'll be walking through in the community, and it's going to come through our community. So please try to get on that and at least advise us of what's going to happen so we can make a conscious decision what we need to do as residents.
Yes, sir.
We'd like, all the facts of the wastewater disposal.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments from the audience? Or
Thank y'all for the water pressure we have. It's phenomenal back at Lake Hermitage.
any other comments from the audience? Mr. Kongovich.
Yeah, Jeff, I just wanted to remind you of hurricane evacuation, the Fort Jackson Museum, the trailers up here have to get a crew. And we could maybe go through it one day, show them how they're going to have to pack everything. And then the fireman from the Buras Fire Department sent me a video today. Might have to put up not a dog park at the Rex Field because they showed somebody pulling up with a vehicle, let their dogs out on one of the baseball fields, and now we got baseball going on too. So, thank you.
Reverend Edwards.
Yeah, just a reminder to all the directors, a lot of time you go out and work on water pumps. I think when you do that, you need to call reverse 911 because there was a situation where, and I think I talked to you, Jeff, when I was in New York, people was calling me why we got low water pressure, and Robert called me and said it was changing pump. Whenever we change a pump, doing anything, they're going to call low water pressure. We need to put that on reverse 911 so people can know, because other than that, you got people on Facebook saying there's 1,000 different reasons. At least people know what's really happening.
If it's a scheduled event, that's a great idea, but sometimes valves go out that it's an emergency type that they have to get on it pretty quickly. And we hear about it. Shouldn't be the case, but we hear about it after the fact because Infomark jumps on it quickly. If it's a scheduled event, certainly we'll make those notices.
I'm still saying even if it's an emergency, at least let people know what happened.
Right. Gotcha.
There was a motor change. That's why your water pressure was high, because I'm saying I get 1,000 calls when something happened.
Will do.
Mr. Jersich.
Yes, Ashley, I really appreciate that thorough report. You're doing well. We appreciate having you. One of the parks I wondered if you ever visit was the one in Oakville in the back of the community, because I know that one's in need of some work as well.
Yes, I have. And then I know there's an event there this weekend, so I have plans on going out to look at it and just kind of do another thorough review because they're needing some things just to have an event. So I am aware of that part.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Mr. LaFrance.
Yes. Mr. Billy, as per to the conversation this morning, you'll be able to get me that differential
On the,
fence?
I spoke to Miss Ashley about it too. She's already working on it.
Okay, great. I'll talk to you after the meeting. And you also, Mr. Jeff, I'll talk to you after the meeting. Thank you, that's it.
Ms. McCarty.
Mr. Witchers, this morning we had a discussion about District 5. Could you just update the people in District 5 about West X, just to let them know the progress of what's going on the street, please?
So for those who don't know, West X is the north side of the bridge. It's the street that used to turn right by the nail salon and zigzag through to Engineers Road. It's prone to flooding. It's low. The construction site work made it worse. Last week, with that rain event we had last Thursday or so, the construction company working on the drainage on the Engineers Road side blocked off drainage it actually caused West X and the next door street, West W, to flood. Homes didn't get flooded, but it was a huge inconvenience. It flooded the streets. It was a nuisance. It scared everyone. As soon as we went out there the next morning, we identified obviously what the problem was. We reached out to the contractor, the lady running the job for the bridge work, all of that portion of it. She immediately set up a meeting that we requested. We told the contractors, gave them our opinion on what needed to be done to resolve that going forward. They immediately followed those requests. The next day, we had a similar rain situation, and it did not happen. So what they did put out at our request fixed that problem. They did say that the whole incident of the construction they had going on was supposed to be ending this week, and then they would have no need to block anything going forward in that area. So hopefully that's true. Hopefully it gets constructed. They open everything up back to normal, and we don't have that worry anymore.
Everything should be back to normal by the end of the week?
They told me at the meeting last week, they said today, Thursday of this
Excellent.
week. So
Thank you.
Hopefully by tomorrow end of day, it is fixed and resolved.
Wonderful, thank you.
All right. Next item, please.
5, bids and advertisements. 5A, a resolution authorizing the acceptance of bids for furnishing pipe saddles, curb stops, fire hydrants, tees, etc. for use parish-wide for a period of 1 year. Councilmember Schultz.
I offer ask for a second. Second by Ms. McCarty. Any comments from the audience? Administration? Table? Machines are open. Passes 9-0. Next item.
A resolution authorizing the purchasing agent to advertise for and dispose of surplus vehicles and equipment on an as-is basis through public auction conducted by Henderson Auctions and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Schultz.
I offer ask for a second. Second by Mr. Kognovich. Any comments from the audience? Table or administration? Table? Machines are open. Passes 9-0. Next item, please.
6, beer and liquor licenses. We have one we need to add to the agenda.
All right. I will ask for a suspension to add an item to the agenda. Ask for a second. Second by Mr. Champagne. The machines are open for a suspension. All right. Suspension passes 9-0. Read that one and the one on the agenda.
Back to Braithwaite Family Reunion, 122 Davis Lane, and this is Councilmember Edwards. Little G's Cajun Restaurant, 9338 Highway 23, Belle Chase, Louisiana, 70037. Councilmember Gooey.
Anybody wants to offer? Offer by Mr. Gooey. Second by Reverend Edwards. Any comments from the audience? Administration? Table? Machines are open. Passes 9-0. Next item, please.
7, building permits. 7A, construction permits. 7A1, associated terminals, application number 2023-858, application date 12/12/23. The proposed project is to install a new midstream ship berth on the Mississippi River near mile point 64 on the left ascending bank near Carlisle, Louisiana, and Plaquemines Parish. It will include a new stevedoring barge and a new barge fleet. The proposed new midstream ship berth will consist of 5 new anchor piles with chains and buoys. The proposed new stevedoring barge will consist of a 330-foot by 75-foot barge secured by 3 new anchor piles with chains and buoys. The proposed new barge fleet will be 6 tiers long by 8 barges wide, with each tier secured by 2 new monopiles for a total of 12 new monopiles. Mississippi River near mile point 64 on the left ascending bank near Carlisle, Braithwaite. And this is Councilmember Edwards.
Oh, yeah. Wait, hold on, Reverend. You got offer. Offer by Reverend Edward. Second by Ms. McCarty. For discussion. Any comments from the audience? State your name and address, please.
Good afternoon, Francis J. Lobrano for Associated Terminals, 147 Keating Drive in Belle Chase. I don't work, they're a client of mine, I'm an attorney, and this permit is actually on our family's property on the East Bank as well. So I don't know every detail of it, but I did discuss the matter with Councilman Edwards some this morning. He had a few questions, and I was able to contact Mr. Todd Fuller with Associated Terminals. And I believe one of the issues you raised, Councilman Edwards, was the maintenance and the rocking of the levee of the property that they're leasing. And he said, yes, they're planning to rock and maintain the levee of the 3,000 feet or so, more or less, at that particular property. The other thing I found out that was kind of interesting is that if you're familiar with the Davan operations, it's a midstream facility where they're transferring bulk cargo, mostly grain, from ship to barge and vice versa, and there's a big crane on a floating barge. That's going to move to this particular location because the pilots were concerned about the LNG ships having enough room to turn around, and the Davant facility on the East Bank is in the general facility of the LNG facility on the West Bank. So by moving the actual stevedoring, crane operation further upriver, they're opening up more access there for the LNG ships. Now, they plan on keeping some fleeting in that general area, but the midstream operation is going to move upriver. So does that answer your questions?
Was because I didn't know it was that intense. And one of the things that I called about because that's our hurricane evacuation route. And so I was concerned about whether it was going to maintain any rocks on it. And I was still trying to understand whether there was going to be having barges coming to that location and bring the stuff down to United Terminal. You're telling me they're creating a whole operation like they have at Electric Coal right there by the White Ditch, and so instead of stuff going over to Electric Coal where they normally go, you saying Electric Coal creating a whole nother.
This is not Electric Coal. This is Associated Terminals.
Associated Terminal, that's the word we've been using. I mean,
right, but no, there's no coal. This is not going to be a coal transfer facility.
Most people call Associated Terminal Electric Coal. That's just a local name we use. But let's just say Associated Terminal going to have another site other than where they're at in Harlem. So you saying Associated Terminal going to do the same thing they're doing in Harlem right there at that location?
Right.
That one,
which is a midstream. There's no trucks or trailers or anything else. It's barge to ship and ship to barge.
Yeah, and I'm saying when you're reading it, you don't get that from reading the permit. And again, I was still concerned about the levee being hurricane protection. There's going to be a lot of activity have to take place on the levee just for employees to get there. Then making sure that levee would be secure in the process. So that was my concern because I didn't understand what the project. It seemed like to me I saw it being a little small scale stuff, but now you're saying that this is going to be used for LNG also. So I didn't get that.
It's used to give room. You see what I'm saying?
I got it. No,
they extend so far out in the river in Davant that by moving further upriver, they're creating a larger zone for the ships to maneuver from the LNG. I'm just telling you what they told me in my conversation with them this morning. So.
Yeah. And so you see my concern. I got something coming in my district. I don't understand what it is because a lot of times you can't go by stuff on paper.
Right.
It wasn't me. I wasn't seeing a picture. And I was concerned about the space it was taking up for it. And so I'm still questioning if you're going to be doing the stuff helping LNG, is really the amount of space you're saying is all you're going to need. I have to question that whether the space that you're saying is 330 something is the right amount, but you need more if you're going to.
I mean, the permit is just for the 3,000 feet. Now, have they spoken with any adjoining landowners? I don't know, but I know that this particular permit is just a one property. The what we call the White Ditch property is what the permit is for.
Yeah, because like I said, about 2 months ago, I saw Lanier people on the levee with cameras, and I was asking, what y'all doing? He said, well, we're doing this for Associated Terminal, about to put a dock here. It's Associated Terminal, putting a dock here. And I found out, and then this came up. So I kind of knew it from when I saw the people on the levee with the cameras, But thanks for giving me some information because I was totally blind. And I know Mr. Brockton said they worked at Associated Terminal for about 1,000 years. I asked him, did he know anything about it? He said, I don't know nothing about it. So thank you for the information.
Anybody else have any questions?
You have a question for him, Ms. McCarty? Okay, Ms. McCarty.
Just for clarification, is anything going to happen on the land side, or this is all on the Batcher side?
All the operations will take place between, on the Batcher side, and with the exception, there may be a small area carved out on the land side for parking, like they have further downriver, but that's correct.
So it's just like the rest of the river, it's
It's the same operation they have downriver,
don't
it's
predict
just
that
going to
this
move
is going to
upriver.
endanger the levee in case of a storm.
There'll be no operations on the levee except, if they park on the land side, you're just going to have people walking across the levee to get to their,
What I'm saying
out
is,
to the
this is
river.
like the rest of the river, it's not going to endanger the levee in the event.
Correct. I don't think the Corps would have let them put pilings or done any construction on the
Thank
levee.
you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments from the audience? Mr. Brox?
Clarence Brock, 156 Enos Campbell Land. Yes, I agree with it. I like to see that plant move from that spot to further up the river. The reason why, because of pollution. That when a grain being transferred from barge to ships, a lot of dust goes straight into Phoenix area, and that'll be a good thing. Get it out of that area and put it a little further, and seem like it's whatever there. Going up there, and that area is going to be clean, just barges, and that give enough more room for more ships to come and park in that area. So now we have one problem to another problem. So,
Yes, sir.
But me, I like to see you go up there.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Arthur Henry Belchase. Councilman Edwards, I don't have a problem with Mr. Lebrano making some money off the deal. But something like this, man, they should come to you and tell you the whole plan on this deal, because they look a little skeptical with me. There's a big time deal here. It looked like it's small, but you really need to look into it.
Any other comments from the audience? Reverend Edwards, you offer this for discussion. Do you want?
Oh, no, I'm ready to move with it.
All right, can you offer?
Yeah, I'll offer it.
Offer by Reverend Edwards. Ask for a second. Second by Ms. McCarty. We're ready. Vote. Machines are open. Passes 9-0.
Thank you, Mr. LeBrun.
Next item, Mr. LaFrance. You want to defer those? Okay.
You ready to go over the items, the agenda?
Yeah, no. Let's go through the permits. Which ones you want to defer? And then,
These are the items that's going to be deferred until we get the legislation with the RVs.
okay.
Item 7B, C, D, E, H, I, J, K, L, M will be deferred.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to go over it again. And you want to move on G, Mr. LaFrance? That's a renewal.
Yeah, that's a renewal.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah.
All right, so right now, item 7B, C, D, E, F, H, I, J, K, L, and M will all be deferred. Does everybody have that? Everybody good? All right, so we're now going to 7G. Oh. You got to come up to the mic. Basically, it's going to be deferred into next meeting. There's new legislation being introduced today related to RVs, so Ms. LaFrance wants to defer his items into the next meeting until he has time to look at it. Is my understanding correct, Ms. LaFrance? Yes. So he's deferring those items into the next, at least, or as soon as the next meeting. Okay? All right. All right, we're going to 7G.
F, are we deferring F?
F is deferred. Mr. Jursich told me before he wants to defer that.
Okay.
So we're
G.
going to G.
Cruisers RV Community LLC, Brett Bowman, RV Park Renewal, 14573 Highway 23, Belle Chase, Louisiana, Councilmember LaFrance.
So offered.
Offered by Ms. LaFrance, second by Mr. Jursich.
This is a renewal.
Any comments from the audience? Administration? Table? Machines are open.
Councilmember Edwards.
He stepped away. Passes 8-0. Mr. Edwards stepped away. Next item, which should be N.
N, TLC Novelty Fireworks Stand Renewal, 8480 Highway 23, Belle Chase, Louisiana, Councilmember Schultz.
I offer, ask for a second. Second by Ms. McCarty. Any comments from the audience? Administration? Table? Machines are open. Passes 9-0. Next item, please.
Kelly Frederick, final approval for 20 Space Temporary RV Park, 26042 Highway 23, Port Sulphur, Louisiana, Councilmember LaFrance.
That's item O.
Yeah, O. Do you want to defer that?
So offered.
Oh, offered by Mr. LaFrance. Second by Ms. McCarty.
Yes, this is for final approval.
Yeah, good catch. Any comments from the audience? Administration? Table? Machines are open. Passes 8-0 with one abstention by Mr. Kognovich. Next item, please.
8, introduction of ordinances and resolutions.
The following are for Councilmember Schultz, an ordinance to amend and as amended readopt certain provisions in ordinance number 2264 adopted May 26, 2022 to extend the life of the ordinance for an additional 3 years to increase RV lot sizes, to correct an error in subsection 9, to properly reference the permit office authority to issue permits for up to 9 RV sites, to change the $100 annual fee to $50 monthly fee, to implement a $1,000 deposit per RV site, to allow for forfeiture of deposit for failure to remove utilities upon termination of the RV park, to add a 30-foot turning loop to the rear of the RV park, to require commercial dumpsters to be placed in each RV park, to require all renewals to comply with the changes to the ordinance and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 2024 General Fund Operating Expenditure Budget, Economic Development/Tourism Department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 2024 Operating Revenue and Expenditure Budgets to accept a donation for Plaquemines Parish Day at the Louisiana Legislature and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 2024 Manpower Structure and Operating Expenditure Budget and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. This one is for Councilmember Edwards, an ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan and the 2024 general fund operating expenditure budget and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. This one is for Dr. Gui, an ordinance authorizing the execution of an extension to the lease of Lot C, Port Eads, for a period of 20 years pursuant to the provisions of LARS 41:1217, the leasee having met the requirements of law and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. And the final one is for Councilmember McCarty, an ordinance to enact Section 15-19 of the Plaquemines Parish Code of Ordinances and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Thank you. All right, going through the rest of the agenda. 9B will be withdrawn.
And what?
B as in boy. 9C will be deferred. 9D will be withdrawn. 9J will be deferred. 9N as in November will be deferred. So 9B as in boy will be withdrawn. 9C deferred. 9D will be withdrawn. 9J deferred. 9N deferred. Any questions on that? or any additional ones that I don't know about. That's good. Corresponds with what you have? President Hinckley corresponds with what you have? All right, make sure. All right, next item, please.
An ordinance approving a plan of re-subdivision of the property of Blue Dog Real Estate LLC, map of re-subdivision, lots 4B, 4C, 4D, Concord Canal Subdivision, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, into Lot 4B1, Concord Canal Subdivision, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, by Bryant Hammond and Associates, certified by Hugh McCurdy III, PLS, dated July 12, 2022, the owner having fulfilled all the requirements of the subdivision and re-subdivision ordinance of the Parish of Plaquemines without cost to the Plaquemines Parish government or the Parish of Plaquemines, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Newsom.
Offered by Mr. Newsom. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Champagne. Any comments from the audience? Administration? Table? Machines are open. Passes 9-0. Next item, please.
9A2, an ordinance approving a deferred.
Nope. 9A2. We're moving.
Ronnie,
Ronnie, you're moving.
Oh, okay.
An ordinance approving a plan of re-subdivision of the property of Ava Hingle, map of re-subdivision of Lot 4A, Concord Canal Subdivision, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, into lots 4A1 and 4A2, Concord Canal Subdivision, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, by Dufran Surveying and Engineering Incorporated, dated November 29, 2023. The owner having fulfilled all the requirements of the subdivision and re-subdivision ordinance of the Parish of Plaquemines without cost to the Plaquemines Parish government or the Parish of Plaquemines, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Newsom.
I'm going to defer this item. They got some stuff that's not right on this paperwork out there.
Okay.
Sorry, Crystal.
No, it's okay. It's all right.
All right.
E,
Item.
an ordinance to amend the 2024 revenue and expenditure budgets and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Schultz.
I offer ask for a second. Second by Mr. Jursich.
I thought you deferred.
E?
Yeah, I thought you said you deferred E.
No, E
He is,
is security cameras.
oh, camera, okay, man, I've gone back and forth with you guys so much on security.
I was like, we.
I thought it was the judge's chair.
No. That's got withdrawn.
Okay, I need to chill, relax.
All right, so I ask for a second. Second by Mr. Jursich. Any comments from the audience? Administration? You good, Mr. President? Mr. Newsom.
Yes, this is putting some cameras. I know LNG is donating some funds to construct and install. What is the maintenance plan for this? Or do we?
So, after lots of research on this one, so the first 2 years, Venture Global will install and maintain it, the cloud, everything, and then after 2 years, it's $500 per camera, and I think there's 6 cameras total. So, what is that, $3,000 for every year after that? Correct, Jeff?
Yes, that's correct.
And that-
550, I believe.
$550. So,
And that cost,
$4,500.
and that cost to be on PPG?
Correct, which all this is going to be firefighting related, so I'm assuming it will come from firefighting funds since they're
It's,
kind of.
the way I understand it, as long as Venture Global has that responsibility to provide some public service under the FERC permit, then they'll renew it.
Okay.
Once they no longer have that obligation, then that will fall on the parish.
You done? Yes. Any other comments from the table? Machines are open. Passes 9-0. Next item, please.
F, an ordinance to amend the 2024 Waterworks and Sewage Fund, Operate and Expenditure Budget, Waterworks and Sewage Billing Department, and Waterworks and Sewage Operations Department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Schultz.
I ask for a second. Second by Mr. Jursich. Any comments from the audience? Yes, sir. State your name and address.
Clarence Brox, 156 Enos Camelland. I just want to let y'all know, Thursday when they had the heavy rain, A lot of the rainwater is going into the sewage. I noticed it, and a couple of people was complaining, but they're totally not flushing, and the water is being pumped into the sewage. I called the sewage, Infomark, and they said they're going to take care of it right away. They got a cap they could put on there to stop the water from going into that sewage.
Okay. Jeff, you got that, take that, you got that note, and then I see Mr. Morgan here. We'll look into it.
Right. But the problem was, the reason why I came up, he said they need more caps. They got plastic caps, but they need metal caps. When you use this budget, can you get be able to buy some more metal?
This actually is dealing with moving the billing department to Infomark. So, but we'll take note of it and look into it. Jeff will probably get with you and go over some of that. So, but
okay, all right,
noted. Yes, sir. Any other comments?
Yes, if I heard you correctly, you're moving the building department to Infomark?
Yes, sir. So currently, the only part of water bill or water department that's still under parish control is billing, and this is to move them under Infomark. That way, everything is kind of consolidated.
Wow, man, I mean, you could have put that in your digest, because that's kind of big for the people, man. You know?
Yes, sir. And basically, overview, I think overall it will save the parish $300,000 a year.
On average.
On average, about $300,000 per year. And it will centralize everything. That way we're not having to go back and forth.
All right.
Any other comments from the audience? Table? Mr. Kongovich.
Are any of the ladies here that's have this problem with their retirement? Have we worked that out? Because I'm still getting emails that
We've worked tirelessly on this, and we feel that we've offered all of the associates the best available options that are available to them through Infomark and through the parish. I want to thank Director Taylor and Director Witches for helping me out on this, especially Director Taylor with making available human resources and civil service to work through this. And we feel that we've offered them the best options that we can come up with through civil service and through human resources.
I know in the past, whenever they want to move a person into a position, they usually change the position and put the money. Now that these people, we forcing them to either move and take a cut and pay, or stop their retirement and go to civil Infomark. Now we're not going to help these people out.
Mr. Kongovich, through the civil service rules, there are 3 ways we move people around. It's promotion, demotion, or reallocation. With the people in the water department, as Mr. DeMarco said, we work tirelessly with civil service. Rachel in finance and I got together. We went through the manpower. We went through our vacancies. The only thing we had on the books were demotions for clerical positions. And we tried, but that's the only thing we could do. You don't move the money. There are vacancies that we're moving into. So the money is already there in those positions.
Yeah, but we've made positions to help people out and put money in it in the past.
Create and fund, come to you all and create and fund positions for people. Yes, we've done that in the past, but
we can't do it.
These people are already here.
We've done that in the past too.
I mean, if that's your wish, we can look into doing that. I'm just stating what's.
Take a cut and pay.
That's the civil service rules.
We make a position and fund it.
If that's your wish, we can look at doing that, but.
It's up to the 9 of us, and I'm not voting to do it until the employees are satisfied, because that's who I'm worried about.
And That was one of my main concerns, the employees, from the very beginning. And like I've said, we've worked tirelessly with civil service to try to figure this out the best way we could, and that was what we had on the board. If you want to create new positions to put these people in,
I'll say yes, but it's up to 9 of us.
Well, I want to hear the comments from everybody. Dr. Gui?
Arthur Lee, thank you for the comment on the digest. You read it and didn't know what the heck it was about, did you? You ain't the only one, son. Well noted. And Mr. Hinckley have had a very touching conversation about that. And we on the same page. And in regards to the employees, I too have received multiple emails, and I too have been one of the people who promised the employee that they would get a fair shake. Put myself in their shoes, I'd want a fair shake. I called Mr. DeMarco this morning to verify that everyone has gotten a fair shake, and he was very honest with me. I have not received any comment. How many employees were there, Jeff?
Affected right now, we had a couple that transferred already, and there's 9.
There's 9. Right?
Yes.
That will be affected by this.
Correct.
And, I haven't heard one way or the other whether it would be favorable, fair, unfair. I take a note that the administration feels like it's fair, and I know you have been through a lot to get to this point, and I really appreciate that. But for me, I've spoken to several of the employees and said I would support it once everyone, that we've gone to the limit and have gotten everyone satisfied, that no one will be damaged in such a way that they can't live with it. So I haven't received that type of confirmation yet. So I'd just like to see where this goes from this point. I yield.
Reverend Edwards.
Yeah, and Jeff and I talked at length about this, and he assured me too it's a fair shake. So the stuff that I'm hearing Councilman Konovic saying about forcing people to take lower pay, and I'm hearing Ms. Taylor say that we can change that. So I want to make sure that whatever we do is fair, to people. So, and from my understanding, everything was fair.
Reverend Edwards, let me just clarify. We can't change anything. We've done this before in the past. We found vacant positions, and we placed employees in vacant positions, either through promotion or demotion, to keep that employee within the parochial system, within the parish system. That's what we've done in the past. Now, we have come before council before to create and fund positions that we needed created and funded, but we have never, in a situation like this, come before the council for creation and funding. We met with all of the employees and with Infomark, and Infomark assured us that they would either be comparable or try their best to meet the employees, to try to keep them where they are. Those commitment letters came out on yesterday. Mr. DeMarco assured me that everyone was treated as fairly as possible. And like all I can say is we worked tirelessly. I mean, some nights laying up in bed wondering about it, but we worked tirelessly to try to keep our employees whole.
Thank you.
Ms. McCarty.
Mr. DeMarco, Ms. Taylor, I would ask that whatever offer is given to the employees, that it be in writing so that they can clearly understand it, because I was approached today by someone who did not clearly understand what we had discussed earlier today. And so apparently it needs to be in writing so that they can digest it a little bit more. And if we do go forward with what Mr. Kognovich has suggested, that too should be in writing. I don't know if it's legal for the council members to know what the current situation is and the proposal. If it were, then perhaps we should look at it, but right now I don't want to see that, you know.
It is in writing. They did. We handed out letters to each of yes, yeah. Well, from Infomark, their offers from Infomark. Infomark has, and I don't want to speak to Infomark's policies other than to say that they do have, for lack of a better term, a gag order that each individual is not allowed to speak about their own offer or their salaries. I can't speak any more about Infomark's policies other than that. But they did each receive a letter with an offer, a commitment letter with a hourly salary offer. And we sat with each of them with Infomark's Human Resources to give them their options of benefits and retirement.
Okay, so let me recap. The person that I spoke with, I told her that she was given 3 options. I believe that was correct. And I mentioned the 3 options. And after mentioning the 3 options, I was told that she did not understand that those were her 3 options. So that's when I said, request that information in writing.
I don't know if I could comment on that without knowing, and I don't want to identify somebody personally.
I don't think we can really get into the details of
Right.
those options
Right.
in public, but here's what I want to do, if everybody's okay with this, because I too, we've been working on this 6-7 months, probably, if not longer.
Yes.
And I too, just like Mr. Kognovich, Dr. Gooey, I'm sure Reverend Edwards, a lot of us said we're not going to move into everybody's made sure protect our employees. I want to look into what Mr. Kognovich said about possibly defunding, because my understanding is there's 2 employees left that are not going to be made whole. So I want to look into possibly what Mr. Kognovich said, maybe look at our vacancies, maybe defund a position, make it a little bit higher position where we can make everybody whole. We got a council meeting in 2 weeks back here. So let's see what we can do over the next week. I know we debated going back and forth to move on this today or not, but let's see what we can do with Mr. Kognovich's options since it's been done in the past. Mr. Kognovich, if you want to take lead on that since you are familiar with it. Anybody opposed to that? All right, I would like to withdraw my offer. At this point, we'll defer it to any employees want to speak on that? No? Yes? Before I defer it?
Hi, I'm Wendy Thompson. I'm the senior clerk, too, in the water department. So am I clear that we're going to try and get the...
We're going to look into what Mr. Kognovich said about possibly creating a position at the same
pay.
I mean, again, it will involve a transfer to a different department, and then this council will have to vote on that to try to make everybody whole. I was not aware that was done in the past or anything like that. So Mr. Kognovich is going to get with Jeff, I'm assuming, Mr. Taylor, and see what we can do. So at this time, we're going to defer it into the next meeting.
Okay.
To see what we can do. They left you. They ran. So, because our understanding is there's 2 employees that are left that are not made whole. So we're just trying to make sure our employees are protected.
I think there's 3 of us.
Okay, 3. So the next meeting is still here in Belchase because of the way we rearranged this month's meeting. So that way y'all will be able to come back and talk at the next meeting.
Okay,
So-
and as I understand it, I may be over speaking, but there wasn't a gag ordinance on the letters from Infomark as far as pay. But,
Well,
I mean, not that that's here or there, but
that
I didn't
was,
think there was.
I don't know. Well,
Yeah.
okay, well.
I mean, it's not a
Well,
big issue, but
We really don't need to get and talk about, because it's your private.
It's
information.
private,
So
but-
let's try to watch what we say in public
Right.
and everything, since it is your private information and your salary and all that. So-
Right.
So what, as of right now, we're going to defer this, see what we can do over the next 2 weeks.
okay. We appreciate y'all. Thank y'all very much.
So F will be deferred. Next item.
G, an ordinance to amend and readopt Chapter 13 of the Parish Code of Ordinances by enacting Article 10 Food Truck Regulations, establishing the rules and regulations regarding the permitting, operation, and sale of food products from mobile vehicles in Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, and otherwise to provide with respect to Councilmember Schultz.
I offer ask for a second.
Second with changes.
Second with change, wait, we're going to have to do an amendment, not.
Okay.
So before we get to that, I just want to basically say where we're at with this. Miss Patty, Miss McCarty. So this has been a hot topic for a month, 2 months now, I guess. Myself, Mr. Juristich, Mr. Newsom, I think, met with the restaurants, gone over their concerns. They had some recommendations. Then we met with food trucks. They were open to all those recommendations to try to get everybody, I guess you'll say, on a level playing field, as level as it can be. So this ordinance goes through and changes the current ordinance and basically has some changes. Commissary in the parish, they now will have to come before the council instead of permit office. Fire suppression system, we're going to put a limit on the number of food trucks in the parish. Zero tolerance for sales tax, as with anybody. Up the liability coverage that they are required to have for insurance, and then as of now, 24 hours. That was the food truck one request was 24 hours. They agreed to that. So that's kind of where we are. I see a lot of people here on both sides. Due to the amount of people, I'm going to ask to change the rules for this item only to 3 minutes. That way we can hear everybody talk. Does anybody have any objections to that? All right. You have an amendment you would like to offer, Ms. Patty? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Wait, hold on. Oh. Hold on. All right, go ahead.
The amendment would be that the food be prepared on site unless otherwise have a line kitchen, and that the health department have spot inspections after hours.
So, well, hold on. So,
Spot inspections after hours means after the health department closes, but the food trucks are still operating.
hold on, you got cut off somehow. Okay, continue.
Spot inspections means after the health department office hours would close, and the food trucks are still operating, the health department would be required to do spot inspections during the operation hours of the food trucks.
So, well, I would say on lines 94 through 100, it talks about the commissary in Plaquemines Parish and all that. So that will be either on site or somewhere within the parish where they have to prepare the food. But and it also says this must be inspected by LD Department of Health or Plaquemines Health Department. And I would assume, Danny, correct me if I'm wrong, that vague statement of Louisiana Department of Health, that the health department can basically come in and inspect them at any point, correct? So I don't know if we really need to narrow down the language, but that to me.
I mean, I think it would work either way, but because they're always subject to that inspection.
So we don't have to tell the health department that they have to stay open after hours to go out there for spot inspection.
Well, I mean, and I guess I need. I don't have an actual copy of the actual language of the amendment, but I don't know that you can. Like, they are subject to the same rules that the health department imposes on anyone else that they inspect. So is the amendment to require that the food trucks remain open a certain amount of time after they're,
No, the food trucks may operate longer than the hours of the health department.
right.
But
Yeah, same, yeah, I mean,
I understand. I know we talked about this before, but then I was reading 94 through 100. And I think that would cover it because the health department can go at any point and inspect them if they're open, even if it's after hours. I mean, they might
It
not.
may not be open during the hours.
Who's not open?
The food truck. It may not be down here during the hours of a regular restaurant. That's what I'm pointing out.
and I think it would be no different than if a restaurant, for example, Raising Cane's closes on Sundays, or Chick-fil-A closes on Sundays. But that's just their business they decide to do, or Raising Cane's every once in a while closes on these random days to help their college kids. But, so if the place is not open when the health department shows up, they're not open. But anytime they're open, I think they are subject to health department inspection.
Billy, you wanted to ask
Yeah,
something?
Ms. McCarty, as it is today, the parish health department can show up whenever they choose to, and they do respond to complaints. Brick and mortar is the same exact way. If they have complaints or issues, it's just not from 7 to 3 and then the place is the Wild Wild West after 3. They can currently do that now. So,
Okay, so you're good with that at this point?
I believe so, if that's okay with the
All right.
restaurant.
Well, hold on. Well, all right. So there's no amendment. Right now it's offered. I have the second. Any comments from the audience? No comments from the audience? Yes, sir. State your name and address, please.
You have to do it in the regular.
Appreciate you guys bringing this back up again, but Chris tried bringing this together along with the other council people, and disagree with some of the comments that were made regarding the 24-hour. I don't think any of the restaurants agreed to allow or have any of the food trucks be open 24 hours. As far as being on the same level or playing field, it looks like from what I read in here, you guys have broadened the zoning areas from 1 to 6 or 7 of them. I think what's that?
I don't think there's any changes.
Yeah, they're allowed to operate in way more zoning areas. Before they were just in C1, I think, in C2. Now they can be next to a house. It's A2, A1.
That's always been there.
No, that's not the previous one. I think that your ordinance violates the American with Disabilities Act because I think right here where it specifically says not to be subject to general zoning requirements for parking or unloading, but shall be subject to conditions or specifications in any permit. Sir? It's on line 196. So I don't know if that can be overwritten or not. American with Disabilities Act is a federal law. The other issue is that you guys have to approve, the council has to approve every permit, but you guys are given more of a broader job description now with these food trucks. And in our meetings, they specifically said they could not handle what they're doing. So going after hours, Ms. McCarty, is not going to happen. They can't handle what they had now. This is a way different discussions than we had. There was a little bit more teeth in here as far as, penalties and stuff, but I believe that the businesses here, when we expand, and let's just say, for example, Mr. Salvos, he put that beautiful new awning out in front of his building. He had to go to the permit department. He had to get a specific building permit that's going to add value to his building, and he's going to be taxed on that. That's not required by a food truck. A business owner that is going to allow a food truck in the to operate on their business should have those same requirements. It's going to be basically it's going to be a piece of equipment that the property owner should have to go file for a permit for, and the assessor is going to have to get involved, and that's going to require an additional assessment. But this parking issue is a big deal. We all have to abide by the federal law with the American Disabilities Act, and you guys are waiving that. I don't know who thought that up, but that's, I'd like an answer on that.
Okay, so first of all, Mr. Riley's here, and he's the one that made the changes based on my notes, Mr. Newsom's notes, and Mr. Jurisich's notes, basically everything that we went through. Did we change any zoning? So the zoning is the exact same. I have the copy with the yellow highlights that's changed, that was added in. As for the American, what is legal? I mean, if we need to take that out where they do have to abide by that, but to me, just like a parking lot or going to somebody's house, that's not a good example, but empty lot, they don't have a ramp or anything in an empty lot. So I don't know if this will apply here because it's a mobile.
Right. I'd have to take a look at it. I don't have it in front of me right now. I'll be happy to take a look at it and see exactly what Mr. Trosclair is referencing, and if it's something
It says not subject to general zoning requirements for parking or loading, but shall be subject to the conditions or specifications in any permit. So I don't know legal, like I said, that was a carryover from the original language.
Correct. So that's not something that I changed. That was already in there. I'd be happy to take a look at that, and if it needs to be amended, I'd be more than happy to do so. But at this point, I'm just not ready to speak on it at this time because it's not something that I dealt with when I.
So I guess my biggest point is that you guys, to me, it looks like you laxed. You guys had meetings, and whoever was the author of this whole, food truck thing, they're not here from what you know, and I had tons of questions and no answers. It looks like you guys took what some of the issues were and broadened them to satisfy their needs, and
I beg, Mr. Newsom, Mr. Jurisich, they can chime in, but they actually accepted all y'all's, I guess you'll say, demands or requests. So there was no laxing of anything.
So they don't have to go to the permit department, an owner, and I'm actually getting another structure on my facility.
Mm-hmm.
You're telling me that they don't have to go and apply, the owner of the property doesn't have to go and tell them that I have another food truck that's producing income on my building. So it'd be no different than Chevron having tanks or something like that that's taxed by the assessor every year. That's what I'm getting at. That's something that you guys need to consider. Even though it's temporary or if it's movable, it is a business.
Yeah, and they have to go get the permit for the food truck.
They have to go get it from the health department. It doesn't say anything about the permit department.
Well, their permit comes from the health department, not from, it's still a permit, but it's approved through the health department at this point.
When we go do a structure, we have to go to the permit department. We have to give them engineered plans. We have to give them specific parking requirements that shows, hey, we have enough parking for all these cars. And that's not what this is saying at all. You're bypassing all that. As a matter of fact, you're waiving it, saying they're not required for any of those zoning requirements.
Well, because they're not subject to the building code. When you add a structure, that's a building code requirement that requires the permit.
That's exactly right.
But they're not a building.
But if I go park a vehicle in a space and you guys are making it an ordinance where they can park there and saying that they don't have to, they can, so now that business has less parking for disabled people. So let's say they have a building and they have just enough space for parking.
Mm-hmm.
And then another vehicle comes in there. They're not going to park on the street. They're going to pull in there. They should be required to have so many parking spaces for that food truck.
Okay. All right.
Changes everything.
Well, I got to move on to the next person, but let me think about what you're saying because.
Nothing against food trucks. I think there's a special place for them. I think there's a special permit that needs to be had. I think you guys need to follow the Jefferson Parish rules and all the other parishes in the surrounding metro area. But this one's, not even close.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you, Dan, because when we originally created last year, Rennie, which is not here, but he went to the Jefferson Parish one and the state requirements and basically crafted it all from that. We're going in and actually adding more based on our conversations. The food trucks had no issue with accepting what y'all want. I don't want to say y'all, but some of the recommendations, commissary in the parish, council approval, fire suppression system. That was everything we talked about. The only thing they said fine. The only thing that they had a request on was the 24 hours. And we talked about that. Some in the restaurant meeting was okay with it. Some were not. I know you were not okay with it from day one, but we can always make an amendment. If somebody wants to make an amendment at the table, take out the 24 hours, that's fine. But I mean, we got to move on. Like we're trying to make the changes. We try to meet with everybody back and forth. And
I'm just making you aware.
I get it. And we'll look into the ADA Act, and if we got to make another change, we'll make that change. But I want to hear from other people in the audience and the other council members at this. So any other comments from the audience? We didn't expand zoning, did we?
Hi,
State your name and address.
my name's Erica Junker, 728 Fairfield Avenue. I would like to address some things because I think that Danny said some very intentionally misleading things. And I would just like everyone on the council to know that the food trucks, we're not trying to hurt restaurants. We're not trying to be in competition with them. We're just trying to make a living. And we are inspected by the health department, the state, everyone the same way that a restaurant is. And when we are open, they're more than welcome to come and inspect us, just the same as a restaurant. All we're asking is that the rules are the same for us and restaurants. We're not trying to be open if they're not open, but if they, basically what we want is we want to have the same operation as them. If they're allowed to be open 24 hours, that's up to them. If they want to be open from 3 a.m. to 12 p.m. or whatever they choose, but if they're allowed to be open for 24 hours, that's what we're asking for as well. That's really, we're not trying to get over on them. We're trying to make everything even and fair.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Any other comments from the audience? State your name and address.
Daniel Salazar, 5101 Highland Drive, Marrero. I just got something to say about the gentleman that spoke earlier. We are subjected for, as well as restaurants, and be inspected at any point, any time. And when we did get our permits, we were required to give a layout of our commissary and a layout of where we're going to be stationed at, and it had to be approved before we got the permits. And I believe it had to be H1 zoning or something like that. So before we got any permit, we did have to give information to the health department and the state and everything. And then before we got any permit, it was approved by, and rules and regulation, following everybody and everything in ordinance. So we just didn't get a permit and just, here you go. We had to comply like everyone else did and get the permits and everything and, safe serve everything. So we just weren't handed out just a permit just because we did go through every step we had to do. And that's how we received our permit, just as well as any other restaurant.
Yes, sir.
That's all I had to say. Thank you.
Any other comments from the audience? Just for clarification, I went back to April 5th of last year when this got sent to me, and it's the same zoning districts, A2, C1, C2, I1, I2, I3, and floodplain. So that is on the original from back then. Any other comments? Yes, Sal.
Ladies and gentlemen, Sal St. Philip with Salvo Seafood. We're all working together to trying to figure out a happy medium for everybody. The one thing that I have been saying since day one is a level playing field. And, it takes a little while to get there. It's not an easy task with everything that we have to do. I don't know about the handicap stuff. I know that's a big deal nowadays, and it should be. The other thing that I've seen on this that's just kind of blows my mind a little bit, that no one is required, even though they open 24 hours a day and they could be in the middle of the parking lot or whatever. But how many of those food trucks have restrooms? And they're not required in this ordinance to have it at all. Not even a portalet outside. That I don't get that one. You know I'm getting old. I don't know about y'all, but got to go a little bit more and more, right? So anyway, what do you do with that ordinance right there by itself? And I agree with the lady in the back. A level playing field is all we're looking for. Now, I did a little research on some food trucks. You can get a bigger food truck for about 15 grand more that has a bathroom in it. That's available. It's called cost of business, and that's the only thing that we're saying. When we say a level playing field all the way across. It's hard to put up 40 years in one place without moving around. And look, take on all comers any kind of day you got it. Let's do it. But a level playing field from you guys is what's required to make us happy and them happy. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Any other comments from the audience? You can only come up once. Administration? Good. Mr. Jurisich?
Yes, couple of questions. And I hear what Mr. Sal said, and I kind of agree with the restroom type of thing in the beginning. It should be portalets or something, because these workers that own these food trucks, they're not going to work all day without having to go to the restroom. It's the workers themselves. And I've mentioned that before. Another thing I'm looking at is, we were talking about zero tolerance for sales tax stuff and everything like that, because that's becoming a big problem. I know several people have gone to the food trucks, and when they get a receipt, when they ask for a receipt, which they're very reluctant to give, I'm not saying the people here, but some food trucks are very reluctant to give a receipt. It's always an even number, and you don't see sales tax on it. And I think, we're definitely going to have to, if move forward, we do have to enforce that sales tax issue strongly, because that's sales tax to the parish.
Yes.
And if we're going to allow this, we have to do it as brick and mortar restaurants. We have to report all that. And, that's an even playing field. When you go even playing field, we find someone who's not paying this parish sales tax, they got to go. I mean, and actually we ought to look at past sales and fine them on that. So I don't know if we shouldn't maybe kick this can down the road one more time till Mr. Avery can get some answers as well. And we can be sure that we have that sales tax strictly written in here, and, and a fine for, if you did businesses in parish and you wound up, not paying your sales tax for 3 or 4 months. And I think we deserve that money. We deserve that fine money.
Correct.
I'm not against food trucks. I'm a brick and mortar guy myself. I can't vote on this issue, but I have my opinions. I hear both sides. But I do think if we're going to make a level playing field, it has to be a total level playing field.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you on the sales tax, and that comes from enforcement type deal. And part of the reasons why we add the council approval in there, I think, was to, all right, we can research if they pay a sales tax. If not, we're not renewing their permit. I still want to hear from all council members due to if we need to make some change in the next 2 weeks where we can get all this settled and hopefully finalized. Mr. Reverend Edwards.
Yeah, that last part about the restroom just got my head spinning on it. But I was kind of confused about the part about the handicap, but I think I got it toward the end. So if a food truck in front of business, as long as they got space so people wheelchair can get in, that's the main requirement, right?
I don't know. That's what I think we're going to need to defer just to check in on that
Well, I'm
issue.
just saying,
But
to me,
but the way it reads is basically saying that you're not required to, because they're not a stationary thing. So I think that's the intent, but we might need to clean up the language a little bit.
And all I'm saying is that a food truck should be able to park in front of business, but they have to have enough space.
Correct.
So people wheelchair get in.
Correct.
So it seems like to me that's a no-brainer. For me, everything I've heard about the trucks, the only thing that concerned me is the part people paying the sales tax so we can get the money. So I'm not, all the thing about going get special permit to add shades on that. To me, that's kind of over the top stuff for me. But my main concern, I think that we should be concerned, the council, making sure that everybody pay the sales tax, more than anything else. The restroom issue, most people know food truck, and I don't know anybody got a food truck who want to go get a bigger food truck to put a restroom in it. But even if a Polar outside, Polar don't have a zinc in it, so my head is spinning all kind of ways around, the food truck. And what I'm not understanding the stuff about 24 hours, because a food truck and a business is two different things, and I don't know if you could treat them as equal. A brick and mortar building and a food truck is totally different. So I'm trying to see what the comparison is.
Well, I think overall, when we use Jefferson Parish as a guide in the state, some of the things we're trying to make it as level of playing field, and they have certain requirements as a brick and mortar restaurant, like the hood and all that, which now there is state requirement for a hood and a food truck. So we added that in there. So it's just where we can make it a level playing field, trying to make it better for everybody. So I think that's where the level playing field comments are coming in, is to make sure everybody's treated, and it goes back to what Mitch said, is treated equal. Everybody, 100% compliance with sales tax, including brick and mortar, are held to the same standards.
So I totally agree with that point. So that's my only concern, is that we do that. But I just think that the food truck, and I'm not a food truck person, but I think they should have rights and privilege.
Yep.
Like everyone else.
All right. Mr. Champagne.
I agree with just about everything all the constituents said. And to address some of the issues, it's not hard to go find. I'm looking right while we're having this conversation. I'm reading the American Disabilities Act of 1991, and it clearly only applies to government buildings, facilities, meaning ballparks, and buildings and restaurants. Those buildings being restaurants, but not all buildings. Snowball stands aren't required to have wheelchair ramps and handicap parking, so there are exceptions. The restaurants are like Salvo's. Man, I tell you, if I want good seafood, I'm going to Salvo's and not a food truck all day. So it's not the same clientele. But again, getting back to the issue at hand, it is whether or not they meet certain conditions. And I think the intent of this body is to make sure that they provide a service that is done the right way and follows the laws. ADA does not apply to food trucks. Just read it. So I think we need a better job of doing that. If in fact you can point out something on here, Mr. Truscott says it applies, I would gladly like to see it. But I've read the whole thing and it does not apply. But again, I think as Mr. Jurisic said, if you're gonna come here and do business, you need to conduct business properly. You need to pay your taxes. You need to make sure that you're inspected and you're doing things the right way and meet the same standard as our restaurants are. They provide good food. They are inspected. They meet all the standards. And I think the food trucks should be offered the same ability to do that. I think that's our intent. So I am in agreement with you, Mr. Chairman, that we should take a deep dive on here and get back with legal. I think you owe us some answers, and we need to be able to cite clear precedents on American Disabilities Act 1991 where there are some voids that we have in here, and to come to a consensus with our brick and mortar buildings and some of their concerns. I think there is a landing spot for all of us. I don't think we're there yet. So my recommendation is in line with yours.
I think 2 weeks we can, Mr. Kongovich. Mr. Kongovich?
Yeah, I agree on the level playing field. Did he say they could put it in a house driveway?
No, because that's, most house driveways will be residential, but they're A2, they're not supposed to have houses, I don't think, so. Oh, A2 can? So I guess A2 will be the only one that it could.
Now, is that property owner paying, now he's a business, is he paying the business tax? The water meter is going to be a business meter. So are we charging them that? Commercial fees.
Mr. Hinckley, you look like you want to make a comment.
I'm agreeing with, pretty much everything that we're hearing here today. And I would like to, let's go ahead and to defer this. Let me get with Avery, and we're going to beef this up because I'm not liking the A2 aspect of this. Also, and I've just mentioned this to Jacques here, is the fact that, they're allowing these trucks to be in their parking lots. Well, now all of a sudden, I bet you any money that restaurant, not the restaurant, but the convenience store is charging that food truck some type of fee. Okay?
Absolutely.
So here's the thing. So let's really clean this up. Let's get rid of the residential side of it, the A2, to where these trucks have to be in a C2, C3, 4, the industrial I3 or the floodplain. But the thing is with the restrooms, I can see there could be a need for that as well. So if this convenience store wants to allow this truck to be in their parking lot, well, there needs to be provisions and some requirements of that store or that individual that's allowing them to park in their facility. So there's a lot that we can do with this here, and so I think we can move on.
I'm not a question.
Oh, go ahead.
A restaurant, you go behind them, there's a container for their used all, and they pay to have it taken away. What are these people doing with their used all?
I think that's with the commissary to basically they have to have a place and cleaning and sanitizing equipment. Basically, we're bringing it, making sure that it's done properly, like clearing it up where it has to be and all that.
Who's making sure of this?
Well, the code that it might be under the future code enforcement department that we're going to be talking about.
Plus,
soon.
It's been brought to my attention, even food prep. We don't need to be seeing them prepping food in the middle of the parking lot also. There needs to be, the trucks need to have provisions for that as well. So like I said, there's a whole lot right here that needs to be looked at and really could be a complete, not a complete overhaul, but a lot of improvements.
So what we're going to do, you think you can get a lot of these changes in next 2 weeks?
I think we can. If we, I'm also open to meet with anyone on the council. I'd like to hear you all's input so
All right.
I can specifically craft the
Correct. All right. So before I defer, anybody that has any comments from the audience, you can forward them to Mr. Riley, or most of y'all have my email address already. Forward it to me. I will forward it to Mr. Riley. Council members, get with Mr. Riley where we can try to clean this up. I mean, this is, like I said, we're trying to clean it up to make it fair to everybody, but at the same time, so this guy introduced a month ago, because we deferred it at the last meeting. So let's try to get these discussions done beforehand. That way we're not having it here at a council meeting. So audience, you can, like I said, I think everybody that's talked has my email address or cell phone number. Y'all can forward it to me. I'll forward it to Mr. Riley. Any concerns, we can look into it, both sides. Council members, get with Mr. Riley and Mr. Burris, because Mr. Burris was the one that originally drafted the original ones, but I know, Riley, you took over permits. So any other comments? Seeing none, we'll defer.
H, a resolution authorizing the parish president on behalf of the Plaquemines Parish government to name and accept the proposal of the Plaquemines Gazette as the official journal for the Plaquemines Parish Council and all other political subdivisions and districts situated therein, of which the Plaquemines Parish Council is the governing authority. Councilmember Schultz.
I offer, ask for a second. Second by Mr. Champagne. Any comments from the audience? From the administration? Mr. Konkovich?
Mr. Garrett.
Yes, sir.
Is there a law saying we can't post this on our webpage?
There's not a law that says you can't post it, but there is a law that says you have to post it in the official journal.
We can't make our webpage the official journal?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Ms. McCarty.
Mr. Garrett, I think someone brought up the fact that this newspaper is supposed to be published every day of the week. And so the Plaquemines Gazette is not published every day of the week?
No, and because there are a number of official journals around the state that are only published weekly. That's actually fairly common in smaller parishes. It does make it a lot harder to post stuff.
Okay, just wondering. Thank you.
No other comments? Machines are open. Mr. Newsom, Mr. Gui, or Dr. Gui? Passes 7-2 with no's from Mr. LaFrance and Mr. Kognovich. Next item, please.
I, a resolution making an appointment to the Plaquemines Parish Civil Service Commission and otherwise to provide with respect thereto, Councilmember Schultz. And this has a fill in the blank.
Go ahead, please.
The name the person being appointed is Aldona Manuel, and that's to be inserted on line 31 of the resolution.
With that, I offer with changes. Ask for a second. Second by Mr. Jurisic. This is for the public, a nomination that expired December 31st, 2023, that we got the letter and selected an appointment from Southern University. Any comments from the audience? Administration? Table? Machines are open. Passes 9-0. Next item, please.
K, an ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan inspection lead and copper pipes project and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Schultz.
I offer, ask for a second. Second by Ms. McCarty. Any comments from the audience? Yes, sir, Mr. Henry.
Yeah, can you tell the people what this about?
Jeff, I think that has to do the administrative order, or?
No.
I forgot.
Back in 2022, LDH put out a directive that requires all municipalities to identify any lead or copper service lines in residence. They cleaned up that act at the end of 2023. What this does is it requires each municipality to identify any lead lines in any residence, and that's what to inventory, to create an inventory. After the inventory is submitted, they'll give us about 10 years, but those lead lines need to be replaced. But this is just to identify those lead lines in each municipality.
You think it's enough money?
This is phase 2. This is the most in-depth phase. This is actually putting the inventory list together. We've already collected all of the needed data. This is to actually put that data in an inventory list. Phase 3 will actually go out in the field and visually identify any lines that were not identified through the data.
Okay.
Yes, sir. State your name and address, please.
Parish Blocks, 156, Enos Camelland. Mr. Jeff, you said copper tubing?
No, I'm sorry, lead lines.
Oh, right.
Lead lines.
Okay.
I misspoke on the copper. It's lead lines.
Because there's many houses with copper tubing, and also all the hydrants got metal, so that's why it hit me real hard that time when he said copper. All right.
Yes, sir. Any other comments from the audience? Administration, Mr. Kognovich.
Are we testing for asbestos lines too?
That's not part of this directive.
I know we have a few.
Ms. McCarty.
I didn't realize I hit it, but I know that one time they backed up the lines and my house was full of asbestos residue from the lines being backed up, but that was years ago, just to let you know.
Mr. LaFrance.
Yes, sir. I still do remember there's still asbestos lines on the East Bank that I knew we had replaced several of it, but there are several lengths of miles that's still on the East Bank. Okay.
Wait, hold on. Mr. Champagne.
Mr. DeMarco, if they're going to be looking at these lines, I would suspect they're going to have to expose them, because you can't just run a seismograph over and determine whether or not it's what type of metal it is. You have to look at it. So while we're looking at it, can't we determine what it is and identify it as asbestos or not? Because we're there looking at it. I don't want to have to go back 2 years from now and say, okay, now let's go identify asbestos lines. I think we can get smart about this, because I think, as Mr. LaFrance said, Ms. McCarty, we may have that issue. So maybe there's a way to solve all the problems in one time. If something we could look at, I yield.
This is specific to service lines from the meter to the house. This is not transmission lines or infrastructure lines. This is to identify lead lines, lead service lines, the service lines from to the house, from the meter to the house. Since 1988, there's been no lead or copper used in infrastructure. That it was outlawed in 1988. There's some older structures, older homes that need to be identified if they have lead lines. And that's what this directive was.
Right, oh, hold on. Go ahead.
If we have to identify it, you have to see what it is.
Correct.
Identify that it is what it is. Not, oh, it's not lead, so we won't say what it is. If you're going to say what it is, be it PVC, be it lead, be it copper, be it asbestos, list what it is. Do it one time. You're going to have to see the line.
Right.
So let's take this opportunity and identify what we have, regardless of what it is. I yield.
Reverend Edwards.
Yeah, to Mr. France, and that's the conversation that Jeff and I had, the Pacific area that we know that had problems that we needed to address. And I think I also called Mr. Brock soon as I got the call from him, because he's working with the fire department to making sure we address those areas.
I do have a quick question. If this is from the meters to the house, we're never responsible for that. So why are we responsible for this?
Because LDH said we were.
But I get that, but why do we have to identify? It's not our, I mean, if a line breaks from the meter to the house, I mean, if we're never responsible for a meter to the house, so why do we got to identify what's there?
Hey, Patrick Mathis, 327 Cypress Crossing Drive, Bell Chase. We've been helping the parish with this project for about a year now. It's an EPA directive. They're requiring every water system to make the inventory. The idea is for, as Jeff said, every service line in the entire system. The service line goes from the water main at the right-of-way to the meter. That's the private portion. You have to determine that, and you have to determine the public side first, private side after that. Because if ever at any point there was lead in front of a material that could soak up the lead, you need to replace that. So that's why you need to determine the public side.
Okay.
I mean, private.
You have another comment?
And that's the part I love about it, because that cost would not be on the owners, of the chance for people of low income to get some stuff did to replace damaged pipes and stuff. So that's the part I love about it.
All right. No other comments? Machines are open. Passes 9-0. Next item, please.
L, an ordinance to amend the 2024 General Fund Operating Expenditure Budget Recreation David Summer Recreation Program Department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Edwards.
And we
Fill in the blank.
have to make a change. On line 15, where it says general fund, unreserved, undesignated fund balance, we're removing that and we're taking it from the emergency fund.
Do I have an offer? Reverend Edwards, you offering? Do I have a second? Do I have a second? Dr. Gui seconds. Any comments from the audience? Mr. Henry.
The kids gonna have the pool the whole summer or what? Okay. Long as they're gonna have some time, because the previous years, they just had no time to play in that pool. So if you can get the whole summer, I'm all for it.
This isn't the pool. No, sir. This is the summer camp. All right, any other comments from the audience? Administration? Mr. Edwards?
Yeah, off it.
Okay. Mr. Newsom?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, is this the, I guess I should have called earlier, is this the same folks that were going to operate the summer camp as last year? Is that? Yeah. Do we have is it the same CEA, or we will be getting a new CEA, or do you guys have because we require a CEA, do we have a CEA in place for this?
Not that I know of.
Okay. I know last year we spent on this CEA, we voted for this. We voted for almost $43,000 we passed for the summer without having a CEA before I saw a CEA. Once we got the CEA, we went through it. And when it comes out to, when you really dig down to it, dig into the CEA, I got a lot of questions. Yeah, I don't know if it's, like I said, since we don't have a CEA in place, I can't ask questions about the CEA. So, I don't know, we're spending $50,000 of taxpayers' dollars without having a CEA in place. I don't think that's good business myself. And I'll just refer to the last CEA that was had for this. Out of the $37,000 that was budgeted or that was spent, over $29,000 went to salaries. That's like 78% of the dollars going to staff and not children. If people don't see that as a problem, you must be blind, I guess. I don't know. I would say that. Also, in this CEA, we had I'm talking, this is the old CEA, not the new one. I'm just going off the old one because they said it was the same. We had a $1,750 administrative fee. I read the CEA. I can't actually come for no means tell me what the $1,750. These folks came to us asking us to run this program, and then they're going to charge us $1,750. I don't see that at all. So those are my issues with this, and I yield, and I guess I'll ask questions.
Reverend Edwards.
Yes, and I'm hoping, I haven't really looked at the $150,000 that we give to the YMCA, but I know that we had to get an agreement with the parish on it, and we went through a lot of length with it. We didn't handle any of the money. Everything that was did by the parish administration, was did strictly by the parish administration. Every check that was cut was did by the parish administration. We had to prove. You cannot run a summer camp with kids unless you have staff. That's a fact of life. How can you have a summer camp and you don't have staff to deal with the children? The key thing to have a summer camp is really staff. And again, my only problem is, and this came up before, we give $150,000 to several YMCA, and I didn't hear none of this kind of stuff that's happening right now. I could tell you there's no criminal activity involved in this. I could tell you the kids there, we have pictures showing every activity that the kids did, and we paid all the majority of kids that worked. There was kids that was in college. I take pride the fact that we give them a good salary. Kids come to college. I would not apologize for that. I think we need to do more of that. I think we need to more, not only help. One of the young ladies we helped, she was about to drop out of college. That money kept her another semester. Now she on the dean list. Now she about to graduate. I'm not apologizing for $50,000 when we give the YMCA $150,000 and East Bank don't have a YMCA. We do not have a YMCA. So for me, I'm not saying I'm insulted by it, but it really sort of sent me to a high level of my festivity. The fact that we're talking about $50,000, and the fact that $17,000 of it went to staff. How else you gonna have a program if you don't pay the staff? I was saying, and the group that we used for our 513 was Bethlehem Baptist Church, and I think without a choir, they are impeccable about everything that they do, and to suggest that there was some illegal activity going on here is very insulting to the East Bank people, because we don't even have a YMCA. No question about the YMCA. But $50,000 to serve children on the East Bank, we got to go through all this legal stuff. I mean, this is absurd. That's all I can say. But I will stand on the integrity of every person that work in this program. I will stand on the integrity of our 501c3 and I was saying that the parish administrator sent us through the hoop. Before we can get any check signed. We did not get a check signed by the parish administration unless we satisfy everything that they needed.
You done?
Yes.
Mr. Jurisic?
Ms. Morrison, this will be something you will be taking over, but you haven't taken it over yet, right?
I have not been asked to take over the program. I have been informed that the summer camp program does happen, and I have been asked if I would be interested in taking over, and I have no problems with working with Reverend Edwards and with the community on this summer camp if deemed how we choose to move forward.
Yeah, because, I mean, it says recreation.
Yes.
Summer Recreation Program Department, being that you're in recreation.
Yes.
And the only reason I'm asking that is because I would like to see you become more involved. That way we can look at exactly how to spend what we need and help the Reverend out over there. We have some oversight of what goes on. I mean, I'm fine with, the kids need something to do over there. I totally agree with it. But we just, hopefully this is one of those things that, sorry, we want to add something else to your plate, but I think this is in your wheelhouse, from now on, I would say, is what I would hope for. And Reverend Edwards, I would love to discuss more with you, beforehand, next year and stuff like that. Let's get with Ashley and let's get this guy. Look, you don't have to answer me. I'm going with you.
I want to add to that. Hold on. So last year this came up when you asked for the additional money last year. And at first I was opposed to it, and then you brought up the YMCA, which I was like, you got a good point. So being consistent with my vote come budget time last year, the YMCA did not come with a proposal or anything and had no plan, and I voted no to the money to the YMCA. So here, again, there's no CEA, so I am holding you to the same standard I held to the YMCA. I think I was one of 2 no votes on the YMCA. So I'm going to be consistent with my vote on that. And then the other issue is you brought up but it's not, do we have one for this year? How do we know but it's also more money this year. Last year was only $37,000. Oh, the second thing is you keep bringing up the YMCA, $150,000, but between the pool, the day van pool, and the lifeguards, that's over $140,000, I believe, there. So money is going to the East Bank and also going to the southern end. But I think we have to be consistent across the board. And in reality, what summer programs, and I know what you're going to say is Belle Chase gets everything, but what summer programs is funded by the parish in Belle Chase? There is none. So I feel like we're moving. What? That is not, has no funds coming from the government. No funds come from the government, is completely fees and everything like that. So, and I understand, I have 2 kids. I have to pay for my kids' summer camp. So like I said, I'm going to be consistent with my vote because I was no on the YMCA's because they didn't come with a proposal. And I have been since in contact with Ms. Sanger down there. And we need to meet to go over where we can solve that problem next year. But I said last year at this time that next time I want to see something better prepared. So I'm yielding, like I said, but that's where I come from with the being consistent across the board. And then the YMCA's get $150,000. Y'all, the pool, lifeguards. So it's not like the East Bank's not getting anything. So I understand that we want to provide services to our kids, but I think it's something that eventually recreation needs to take over. I know I asked Ms. Morrison, there's CDBG grants that we can go after next year, that we can fund this through grants. That way it won't be a problem in the future. And that's something Ms. Morrison, I think, was supposed to get with you, start looking into. So I yield. Mr. Sh-
Recreation, having a recreation program, because it's non-existent, and that's what just was filling that void because it didn't exist.
Mr. Champagne.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had a similar conversation this morning with Ms. Morrison, and I discussed my concern for the children on East Bank. It's important that they have a program, and I recognize we're doing the same thing we did last year. And first of all, why did we wait till May? Because we should have been working this year, having this discussion in March. No, and it's all of our fault. I mean, we know this was coming. I discussed some of this with my colleagues, and they all made good points. And Reverend Edwards talks about not having a YMCA there. I'm sure that's something Ms. Morrison will take a look at. Why not? Why can't we get one back over there? She discussed some great programs. I'll tell you, someone asked about the pool. The pool looks beautiful. I went and looked at Dave Ant Park yesterday. Billy, your folks are doing an outstanding job of making that a nice place. So, Rev, you had a beautiful place over there, I'll tell you. As for the kids, I think we need to look into this. It's a shame that we're so far down the road and trying to find solutions at the 11th hour. I think the only people who are going to suffer are the kids. I agree with everything that my colleagues are saying. We don't fund programs up here, and that's a shame because there's needy families up here in Belle Chase. I have some in District 2, believe it or not. There are some who can't go to summer camps as well. I don't think anybody's questioning the integrity of the people over there. I think they did a fine job last year with the summer camp, and I really appreciate the fact that they came and thanked us. That was a very, very nice gesture. Again, Reverend, I think it's something we need to take a look at because I think it's important that we get with Ms. Morrison and not have to do this again next year. And we all know unfortunately, we have some folks in this parish who need some help, and we need to find ways to do it. And Ms. Morrison had some wonderful suggestions with the Community Development Block Grant, and I look forward to exploring that some more with you and actually make it happen. I yield. Thank you.
Mr. Kognovich.
First off, I voted for this for the last 5 years, and I'll keep voting for it because it's the kids in the parish that I worry about. Number two, don't feel alone. Buras Y and the Port Sulphur Y has a CEA with the parish. And 2 people up here voted no to send money down there. I don't care if the woman was here or not. It's not for us, it's for the kids. And, every time we needed the 2 pools fixed, Port Sulphur and Buras, people up here voted no. But we own the pools, so why are we going to charge the Y to fix a pool that we own? But to say that the Ys don't have a CEA and they never did, they got a CEA every year. Thank you.
Ms. McCarty.
Mr. Edwards, I just wanted to ask, would you be opposed to deferring so we can get a CEA for next time?
No, I'll give a CA. We'll take the one we got and amend it. We already got one on the thing. It's just a matter of us amending that. Ms. Taylor and them not going to let this happen unless they have a CEA. So I don't want to oppose it. We need to get to summer camp. We need to get running. We can't wait 2 more weeks for this. I would have a CEA to them tomorrow.
Yes, we have the CEA from last year. We'll get with you and get with the legal department, Reverend Edwards, and we'll work it out.
Okay, so that's not a problem. Thank you.
Any other comments? Machines are open. Passes 7 yeas, 1 no by myself, 1 abstention from Mr. Newsom.
Thank you.
And next year, let's And again, I don't know how this happened because again, we talked about this last year. Let's make sure it's in the budget during the budget process. That's another reason why I think this is, that way we're not rushing up against a deadline like we are this year, Reverend. Just next year during the budget process, let's just make sure it's in there properly. That way when we vote, we know what that's there.
Well,
So Ms. Taylor, Ms.
actually would do
Morrison.
that. It'll be a part of recreation.
Yeah.
Program, and that'll be part of our budget
Yeah.
for recreation.
Next item, please.
A resolution authorizing One for Love Fitness and Mentoring, a nonprofit organization, to raise funds to have basketball courts erected in Diamond Park and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember LaFrance.
Offered by Mr. LaFrance, second by Mr. Kongovich. Any comments? Sorry, my brain froze. Any comments from the audience? Mr. Henry. My brain just froze.
Mr. LaFrance, great idea.
I think this is excellent that we are having these partnerships. I second that, Mr. Henry. Any comments from the administration? Table, machines are open. Passes 9-0. Next item, please.
10, approval of the minutes from the May 9th, 2024 regular meeting.
Offered by Mr. LaFrance, second by Mr. Kongovich. Any comment from the audience? Administration, table, machines open.
No.
Passes 9-0. Next item, please.
11, new business. 11B, District 7 update. Councilmember LaFrance, Suzie Bayou dredging project.
Third.
C, District 3 update. Councilmember Schultz, discussion about building assignments.
We talked about that yesterday. Let's try to get a list of all the departments that you plan on moving and working on moving. That way we can officially vote on it in accordance with the charter, just where we're aware for the public. So, just like I said, we just need to be aware of what's going on. Thank you. That's it. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Hold on, I have
Oh,
one
sorry.
more statement on a personal note.
Yes, sir.
I'd just like to, tomorrow, if I can make it to 7 o'clock in the evening, I'd love to wish my wife a happy anniversary, and it's 44 years, so.
That's
So, thank you for that.
Everybody knows.
Oh,
All right.
I like your style, right? You're going to get big points for this. You're a smart man.
Motion for
Man, it's the first good thing you did, man.
motion adjournment by Councilmember Newsom.
Councilman Schultz, Councilman Schultz, if I could just take a second on
Yes.
the most solemn note. This week, we lost a very important person here in the parish, Carol Pons. He was an employee of Plaquemines Parish government, almost Mr. Plaquemines Parish government. So we want to keep that family in prayer. The services will be on Tuesday at Mott's Funeral Home, starting at 9 to 11. They'll have viewing.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for bringing
Thank
that
you
up.
for letting me know that. I didn't know
meant to
that.
Bring that up. Thank you for reminding. Very sad. I have a motion of adjournment by Mr. Jurisic, second by Mr. Newsom for motion adjournment, second by Mr. Jurisic.
At the advertisement, we can.
Machines are open. Passes 9-0. We have adjournment at 4:35 p.m.